Welcome back to the Workbench After-hours Podcast. My name is Keith, and I'm your host. This is where we talk about the firearms community, shop talk, and everyday life experiences. All right, guys, thanks, and welcome to the Workbench After-hours Podcast. My name is Keith.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Hunter.
And we're just a couple guys just getting into this podcast journey, and we figured that we would start off with all three of us. You may see one, just one or two of us, or maybe all three of us throughout the episodes, but we thought we'd all kind of do it together during the first one. We call it the Workbench After Hours because we usually find ourselves around my workbenches in the garage, just kind of shooting the breeze, drinking whiskey, smoking cigars. So we figured, we would kind of bring that into a podcast. Each one will have a certain topic, but then we might branch off into other stuff. Obviously, with us being a gun channel on YouTube, we're going to talk a lot about guns and stuff, but then also kind of branch out into, whatever we end up talking about around the workbench. So I think now we'll just kind of start on like how we each got into guns pretty much. Chris, I don't know if you want to tell us how you got into guns.
I got into guns really when I moved back to Kansas after the military. I think I always had a passion for guns. I think most boys do when they're younger, with Nerf guns and then BB guns and then airsoft, and everything just takes off from there and gets bigger and badder and more fun and more expensive.
Right.
But that's pretty much how I got into them. And then you got me into the AR platforms. So
what did you shoot when you were in the military?
We shot a Beretta. It was a 9mm, and then we also shot a Mossberg 500 shotgun. That was for like qualifications.
And
Nice.
was the Beretta your guys' like standard carry for the
Yeah.
sidearm, or
Yeah, for the sidearm, that's mostly what you'd carry. But I was mostly in engineering, but top side they'd carry like an M16, and then usually a Beretta was
Okay.
their normal carry. Unless you're out at sea, then sometimes you might have an M4 or a 50 cal.
Very cool.
So how many guns do you have right now?
I think about 10.
All right. We could work on that number though.
Yeah.
10 guns. My gosh.
Well, how many
I'm
does
trying
your
to get up there?
how many does your father-in-law have?
Oh, I don't even. It's got to be in the 30s, 40s.
I don't even have that, and I own a gun business. So, Hunter, what about you? What's your experience with guns been so far?
So I actually grew up in. My mom came from a huge hunting family. For some reason, she just, when she had kids, she wanted us to have nothing to do with it. So, one of my uncles teaches a hunter safety course, and all of his kids shoot, and all my cousins on my mom's side, anyways, they all shoot. And my mom would never let me actually get into it, but the first gun I ever got, I inherited from my grandpa, and it's just a Ithaca. It's a single barrel, but you use the lever action to break it apart to break apart the gun, and then you can just put one shell in. And when he gave that to me, I think I've shot it once or twice, not too many times, but anytime you shoot something like that, you're just like, holy hell, this is so cool. I want to keep doing this.
Right.
So
Yeah, and it being a single shot, right?
right. Yeah, single shot, I think the most it could hold was like a 2 3/4 inch shell, or it wasn't anything special. And then when I was in high school, I wanted a shotgun, which I told myself for self-defense, but I really just wanted a shotgun. So I bought it was a hunting rifle, or it's not rifle, sorry, it was a hunting shotgun. And I think it had about a 28-inch barrel, and I can't remember. What'd you find out it was?
It was a 28. It was Stoger, Operand Benelli,
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I had the whole camo, the whole nine. It looked really cool, and I actually took the plug out of it so I could fit bigger rounds in it, and it actually could shoot 3.5-inch shells. And I only ended up shooting that thing 2 or 3 times, but with the bigger shells in there.
How'd that feel?
Hey, man, that kick is insane.
Right?
So I got that, and I was using it for home defense. And then my wife and I bought our house, and of course we moved next door to Keith, and he's got his own gun business. So I start talking to him about it, and he's like, yeah, that's the last thing you want for a home defense gun. So he actually, he looked at it and he's like, yeah, I can sell this for you. Awesome, cool. But before that happened, I ended up buying a Glock 17 from him, which still haven't gotten to shoot yet. With dying to shoot it. You know, you think your neighbor who's a freaking owns a gun business would take you go shoot the gun he just sold you at least once. But we're getting to that. But he was able to sell that hunting shotgun that I got right away, and then got me a Benelli 500, right?
No, it's a Mossberg 500.
Mossberg 500, and so
it's the field home defense combo. So it comes with an 18.5-inch barrel with a breacher end. It just looks cool, and that's good for home defense. And it also has the, I want to say, 28-inch field barrel. So if you want to go hunt or trap shoot, swap the barrels. And
you give me the swap on it, and obviously that's amazing. And he essentially said, hey, I'll try and sell this gun for you, and if I can get enough money out of it, if you'd be interested, I'll just give you a clean swap. I'll sell your shotgun for you, and you can get my old shotgun from me, because he was looking into getting a new one anyways. And so now I have a Glock 17 and this
Mossberg 500,
and haven't shot either one of them yet, but we'll get there.
That's all right. There was the pandemic, ammo shortage, stuff like that. We'll get there.
Yeah, don't waste what you got.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But now you can actually find 9mm ammo and stuff. So we'll definitely have to go to the gun range here pretty soon to see if you even like the Glock 17.
I bet I'll like it. I think it feels really good in my hands. And when he first sold it to me, it was the huge ammo shortage. And when he sold it to me, he's like, you just got to buy this now, because who knows next time I'm going to get another round of Glocks in. So he's like, just got to get this. All right, cool. So I actually had to go stand in line I think I was in line for like an hour at a local place close to us, Academy Sports, just to get the 9mm ammo for it in the beginning. So
yeah, Chris is still trying to find 6.5 Creedmoor for his AR that he's building. Yeah. Just about to finish up. You just got your scope early, a Christmas present from your wife, and you have everything.
I've only got a limited amount of rounds and want to go shoot, but I don't want to waste all my ammo because I can't find it.
Yep. And it stinks with having a gun business. I usually can get ammo at cost, but I can't even get it. No, it's man.
It's crazy.
It'll get better one of these days.
And so with your AR, I've heard Keith talk about it a little bit. I'm not completely positive on what it means, but some ARs can shoot 2 different rounds. Does yours shoot both the different rounds, or?
My AR-15 shoots 2 different rounds because it's the wild barrel. So you got your 223, 5.56. I can shoot both.
Okay.
But my AR-10 is strictly right now a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Okay.
So it's just that round. That's it.
And that's a good round because he wants to do long distance shooting.
Wait, so is the 6.5 Creedmoor, is that a specific round for the gun? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's why I wanted, because he wanted to do long distance shooting with him. So that's why I talked him into getting the Wilson combat barrel.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you're going to, cut corners somewhere, just don't do it on the barrel.
Yeah.
If you're going to be doing long distance shooting. And I think you got to, most of the gun is arrow precision.
Yep.
And then
I think it all is besides the barrel and the muzzle brake.
Right. Yeah.
Everything else is arrow.
The BCG's arrow. And yep. Awesome.
2-stage trigger, which can't wait to try to use it.
And so Keith's our leader. We haven't even asked him yet. How did you get into guns, Keith?
Man, I actually didn't get into guns until later in life, probably 2013, 14.
Later in life, these old men.
Yeah, I don't know, mid-20s probably, I think is what I was. But to me, that's later in life because you hear a lot of guys growing up with guns and stuff, and so I knew nothing until my mid-20s. But I had a buddy that was getting into prepping, and one of his things is self-defense, and he's like, oh man, you need a gun, you live by yourself, you need a way to defend yourself. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I know nothing about them, I've never shot one. And so then he took me to go shoot it. And the first time, knowing nothing about guns, I was super intimidated and didn't know what the heck I was doing. But he took me several times, and then I have an addictive personality. So anything I get into,
I know you do.
Yeah. So I just I bought that same gun that I learned on, and then I decided to branch out. So I bought like a same gun, but 9mm, and just kind of started buying a shotgun. I think I bought an AR first. I knew nothing about the AR, but he's like, you need an AR. I'm like, okay. I went to the gun shop and like, yeah, you need one, and you need all this stuff for it. So I'm like, okay. And I took it home and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I was watching YouTube videos, and because they were talking about the bolt and all this stuff, I'm like, I don't even know what a bolt is. Like, what are you guys talking about? But I didn't want to say that in front of them and look like an idiot. But I just, started collecting guns, and then started just watching doing a lot of research on YouTube. And back then there was a lot of videos on guns and stuff. So I just kind of learned that way, kind of self-taught, and then it just grew and grew. I started collecting more, and then I got my collector's license, my CNR, so I can, collect the old World War II rifles. Usually anything over 50 years old you can have as a curio gun and have it shipped to your house if you have that license. And after I started traveling for work, or stopped traveling for work, I decided to get my actual FFL, and that way I can buy and sell and make money off of it, and just kind of do that as a side hobby. And it's fun. And now we're kind of getting into the YouTube channel with that stuff, and seeing how that goes, and getting into the podcast. And yeah, so we're just.
And what do you do for your main job again?
Insurance.
Gotcha.
Nothing fun. It's boring.
So the gun business is way more fun than
oh yeah,
than what you do on the
way cooler.
On the roll.
Yeah,
I see a lot of cool things, and maybe shoot some cool things.
Yep, and I do a lot of transfers. People buy guns online and have them shipped here, and I do the paperwork and stuff, and I get to see all kinds of cool stuff.
And when you say transfer, what do you mean by transfer?
I have to do the actual paperwork, so they have to fill out the form 4473, and then I do the background check, and so then I transfer it to them as long as they pass.
Okay.
Yep, because once you can order guns online, but you have to have it shipped to a licensed dealer in your state, and they do the paperwork and make sure you pass and all that stuff. So that's probably 50% of my business is doing that, because you buy anything online, and people tend to find better deals online, which
they think it's cheaper, and then they don't realize, they got shipping now. I got transfer fees.
I know, yeah, because when I'm set up at the gun show, I'll hear people kind of talking to each other, and they're like, oh, well, we can buy it for the same price or maybe a little bit less online. I'm like, okay. Thinking to myself, well, then you got to pay generally shipping. We will still have to pay tax, and then you have to pay, whatever the transfer is. So that all adds up, and then you got to wait for it. Now I can just do the paperwork, and you can go home with it and enjoy it. So it drives me nuts, and kind of it's funny at the same time. It's like you don't realize they don't take all that stuff in it. Yeah, because if you buy it from me, I don't charge you a transfer fee. But if you buy it online and have it shipped, I got to charge you. Ours is only $20, but I've seen it as high as like $60 or something. So that's like an additional cost on your gun you got to account for.
And sorry if I go on this tangent really quick, but
oh boy,
when me and my wife first bought our house, we're next door neighbors to Keith, and it must have been I think it was a Thursday. It might have been a Friday, but I think it was a Thursday. And we bought the house, and we're so excited. So we bought a bottle of champagne. We're drinking champagne. I was smoking a celebratory cigar, and Keith walks over just to introduce himself. Hey, my name's Keith. Whatever. Well, I'm like, hey man, well let me get you a glass of champagne. Nope. All right. Well,
I didn't say nope. I just said no. I'm like, no. It was like 4:00.
I was like, all right. Well, can I get you a cigar or anything? We're super excited. We just are wanting to celebrate with other people. Well, can I get you a cigar? No. So for the longest time, I think this guy is a hard ass, and I only say that to segue into this next little story. Is we'd only been in the house for maybe 2 or 3 months at the time, and Keith and I hadn't really built up our friendship yet, and I didn't know him too well, and I'm looking out the front door, and there's this girl who's walking up. It's cold as hell because we bought the house in November. We moved in December, so this has to be like Marchish. It's still so cold, and this girl walks up, and she is dressed.
I don't even know if she was really dressed. I mean,
she wasn't. She
like
wasn't.
the least amount of clothes that you could be wearing when it's that cold outside.
Imagine someone who's trying to sell their body. That's essentially what this woman looked like.
Yeah.
And she walks in to Keith's garage, and I don't know anything about his gun business at this time. And I'm just thinking to myself, oh no, is Keith, does he have a call girl coming over? What's going on? And I tell my wife everything. So I'm like, Jasmine, you got to come look at this. You got to come look at this. She comes over. She gets to see the girl walk out, and she's like, oh my God, I think Keith is, getting girls over here or whatever. Come to find out, she was trying to come buy a gun from Keith, didn't pass the background check, and so he had to kick her out. But this whole time I'm thinking, what is this man up to?
The minute I saw her walk in, I'm like, oh God, thank God it's the middle of the day. I hope nobody's home. And of course, I didn't realize you were home. I'm like,
I was home, and I watched the whole thing.
I'm like, dang it.
What is our neighbor Keith up to?
Yeah.
Then, fast forward almost a year now, and obviously I know Keith would never do that in a million years. But at the time when I didn't know him, I was like, I can't believe he's got this girl walking into his garage in broad daylight like this. It's crazy.
Do you know how long he's been waiting to tell that story about how we first met on a podcast?
Oh.
He's been waiting forever. He's like, oh man, as soon as we do the podcast, I'm going to tell that story.
I had to.
I said, no, thanks. I'm like, because it was like 4:00. I think I was still working or something.
Probably. I don't think you had clocked out
I'm
yet.
like, yeah, I just want to come say, what's up? I had to text my wife your guys' names immediately because I'm terrible with names. I'm like, had to text her. I'm like, Hunter and Jasmine. She's like, what? I'm like, that's our new neighbors.
And that's how bad we are too. The second he said his name and his wife's name, I was like, Jasmine, pull up your notes. You have to put those in there. Otherwise, we're never going to remember. But
yep.
No, it was very nice of him to come over and congratulate us on the house. I just was, I forgot first off what time of day it was, and also that it was still a weekday. And I'm like, oh, he want to celebrate with us? No, wasn't a thing.
No. Yeah, because I'm not a very outgoing person, so I don't just go up and introduce myself that much to people. But I pulled up and you guys were outside. I'm like, crap, I have to go introduce myself. Because I'll look like the butthole that just walks in without saying anything to the new neighbors. And then come to find out, thought I was a jerk because I didn't want to have a cigar or a glass of champagne.
I didn't think he was a jerk. I just thought he might be a little bit of a tight ass, honestly. So, Chris, how did you and Keith meet?
We actually met, I think, in kindergarten.
Yeah, kindergarten.
So we've known each other pretty much our entire lives.
Yep.
And we did Cub Scouts growing up together, or Boy Scouts back then. Now it's Cub Scouts.
Did you guys go all the way to Eagle Scout, or?
No.
I think we stopped at like Weeblos or something like that.
I think
we both moved, and that's why we kind of quit, but we still stayed in touch with each other.
Yeah, after we moved, I didn't like the new, pack or whatever at the new place. I think I stuck with them for a year, but after that, I think it was third
or fourth grade, I think.
Yeah, fourth grade. I think I dropped out in fifth.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I got into basketball.
And skateboarding.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with skateboarding. That's
at least
fun.
Trying to skateboard. I mean, my parents lived on a really big hill, so we thought it was cool to just ride down, and just scare the crap out of ourselves, ride down. And that's it. I could somewhat ollie. That's it, honestly.
We were too big of wussies. We had a big hill by our house too, but we'd always sit down on a skateboard and lose our way down.
Well, we started off doing that, but then as we got,
older,
we're like, oh, screw that. Let's stand up and do it.
We watched one kid hit a manhole in the middle of the street and completely stop his momentum, and he rolled forever and came up just completely scraped the shit. And we're like, all right, not for us anymore. Not for us anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now I won't do that stuff because it's like you get hurt and it just hurts a lot more, and that pain stays with you for a while. Yeah. You don't heal as fast.
Just like drinking a lot in your 20s. It's, I wake up just fine. Now it's like, I am dead. Oh, God, what did I do?
Isn't that the worst?
Oh. It is.
Every year I feel like my hangover compounds at least double. I'm like, how?
I used to be able
What
to
the hell's
drink
changed?
like a fish.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Now
I
it
can
kills
only-
me.
Yeah. Ugh, I hate that.
So I'm sorry I went off on that tangent, but you were talking about how now you're running the business out of your garage.
Yeah, I just because in the city we live in, we're lucky that they allow us to sell guns out of our house. Some
Mhm.
cities don't allow that.
Mhm.
That you have to have a storefront. So luckily when I decided to do this, I lived in a city that allowed it. But when we decided to move, I had to make sure we moved to a city that still allowed it. So that was kind of what got us out here too. Yeah, it's just something I do on the side out of the garage. It's pretty cool buying guns at wholesale and, and stuff like that, and doing gun shows. And you guys have come up to the gun shows and kind of helped out and are learning a lot.
Which was really cool. If you've never been to a gun show before, it's definitely worth it. The media portrays it in such a way where you think like, oh, you can just go up and buy whatever gun you want from anybody at any time. It was the first time I went with Keith, and I was like, oh, he's running background checks on everybody who buys a gun. Then I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then you do see the guys walking around kind of skirting the system, but
yeah,
it's a really good learning experience for me to see that.
You get some guys that will have a table and selling their personal guns, and it's like, all right, you're the ones that are giving us dealers a bad name. But for the most part, everybody does it as it should, and everybody freaks out about the paperwork and the background checks and stuff like that. And I tell them like, okay, so the government has no idea what gun you have, because when I run the background check, I don't put in anything about the gun other than if it's a rifle, pistol, or shotgun, or like a frame or something. They don't know anything. The only way they know is if they were to come subpoena me or something and ask for the application that it has. But
and then they can look up the serial numbers and all that.
Talking about subpoenas, how about the fact that you've owned your gun business for how long now?
4 years.
And you just had a little visit from the
from
the ATF.
Yeah, I had my first ATF compliance inspection. I was nervous because I'm like, I don't know what the hell. Because when you get your license, the ATF comes out and does a quick interview, but then the rest of it is them showing you how to navigate the background system and fill out the forms and do your logbook. Other than that, that's it. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm assuming I've been doing this right for the last 4 years. And so I'm like, crap, nervous. But no, the guy was real cool. And, since I'm not a full-time gun business and just do it on the side, I didn't have a whole ton of paperwork for him to go through, a large amount of inventory. So it only took like a few hours. And he's like, yeah, you're doing good. And just keep doing what you're doing. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, I remember how stressed out you were about that. You're freaking out so hard. I'm like, well,
I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, I don't know, because you hear other guys tell horror stories about it. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
But I'm like, hey, and I'm like, because I still do the paper forms. They have electronic forms that are on the computer, but you never know when computers are going to crash or anything like that. So I like doing the paper forms. And again, like when you buy a gun, yeah, you're doing the paperwork and a background check, but the government doesn't know what you have unless that gun's used in a crime and they trace it back or whatever, or they come and take all those forms and go through them. But other than that, there's no gun registry that they have access to.
Yeah.
And just knowing how responsible you are, I know how stressed out you were about it, but I'm like,
you're gonna be fine.
Anytime I've ever seen you do anything, you're always doing all the paperwork,
meticulous
to a T. Yeah,
inventory.
So it's like he's just stressing out,
Well, he was
at this point.
He went through it because he went through every application from the last year, and he went through every one, just making sure it was filled out right and stuff like that. And people mess up on it, and so I'm just like, okay, well, you mess up, all initial. And I said that there was a couple, and he's like, yeah, that's fine as long as you initial it and stuff like that.
And whatnot.
Yeah, but he went through every form, and we had to go through my inventory, make sure what I had matched up with the logbook and stuff like that. But it's fairly easy. Luckily we live in a state that's pro-gun.
Yeah.
So definitely makes it a little bit easier. I have actually had a lot of police officers here locally either transfer or buy guns from me, and It's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Had one a cop
Oh
that
yeah, that's cool.
had a sergeant actually buy a Barrett like A1 50 cal rifle and had it shipped here, and I did the transfer. I'm like, God, man, I know you're like with the police, but I mean, it was like a $10,000 gun. I'm like, man, my wife would kill me, first of all.
Yeah.
Was that shotgun?
No, that was a different one. Yeah, I just see a bunch of cool stuff, and the shotgun that he's talking about was like this old collector. God, I want to say it was a Winchester, but it came with like it's a skeet shooting gun, and it comes with like 4 different barrels for each size of round, and each one's you don't need chokes or anything because it's automatically that barrel set up for skeet shooting.
Yeah.
And it was like what $6,000 or something like that.
I thought it was 8, but
I don't know. It was expensive.
he had sent me the picture of it, and he's like, "Guess what this guy just ran for?" And I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, I don't know, like $1,000 or whatever. Nope, not even close.
Yep.
So nice.
Yeah, I've opened it up. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. No wonder why it was that. I mean, and it's a rare kind of collector's item because, I mean, they don't make those anymore, and it was pretty cool. So yeah, I get to see a lot of cool stuff come through, and obviously get to buy it too.
So you had talked about, when I asked you what a transfer was earlier, I guess just from my own knowledge, like what does a typical transfer run, or like what do you run for a transfer if you were going to do one?
What do you mean?
When you're transferring the gun over and moving the title, what is there a typical price that people go off of, or like what do you charge for a transfer on a gun?
I just charge $20, and most people that, because at the gun shows there's a lot of guys that just run out of their house like me too. Most of them charge $20. If you actually go to like an actual gun shop or whatever, they charge anywhere from 40 plus.
I mean, some of the retailers, I know they're like $60. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm like, really, all you're doing is, putting in your logbook, doing a form and a background check that takes less than 20 minutes, and that's it. So I'm like, $20 for me, cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't imagine charging. I mean, I'm sure I would love to charge $60 for it, but it just, the amount of work that goes into it isn't that much.
So then, like, if someone bought a brand new gun, or not a brand new gun, but they bought a gun off somebody else and they wanted it transferred, would they be able to ship that to you and you could just really quick do that transferring for them, or how does that work?
Yeah. So I have like his father-in-law kind of inherited a collection of guns from Georgia. So they had a gun dealer out there ship them here to me. And I had his father-in-law come over and fill out the paperwork. I just put all those guns, I got them at once on one application, so we didn't have to fill out multiple. And I just, transferred everything to him.
Transfer it that way. So super convenient to do that way, huh?
And there's people that sell guns like private party. So like if you were to sell a gun to say hunt or whatever, you can do, at least in Kansas, you can do a bill of sale. But a lot of people, just to cover their butts in case that thing is ever used in a crime down the road, like to do an actual transfer through a dealer. So I do the same thing. So I've had people come in, they're like, all right, yeah, we met online. He's buying this from me. I just want to do the transfer. So he buys the gun from that guy. I, run the background check. He fills out the application. As long as it goes through,
good to go.
Good to go. Yep.
And then, sorry, I'm asking all these questions. I just don't know. Are there certain states that, like, if you do a transfer, it'll go like if you own that gun, you register it cross states, or like say somebody from Missouri sent you a gun, how would you do that transfer? Is it the same process, or do you have to transfer it? Or just explain that to me.
It depends. So like, since I'm only licensed in the state of Kansas, I can only sell or transfer pistols to Kansas residents. Pistols or anything that's classified as an other firearm, so like a strip lower or a frame, I can only transfer and or sell those to a Kansas resident. Now, for rifles or shotguns, it doesn't matter. I can, if somebody wants to buy it and they're, say, from Missouri or Oklahoma or whatever, I can still sell it or transfer it to them. It's just for some reason they're super strict on handguns.
On handguns for some reason.
I have no idea. I lose so much business at the gun shows from that because we're so close to the Missouri state line that you get people coming over from Missouri thinking they can buy a pistol at a gun show, which I did that. I when I started getting into guns, I went to a gun show in Missouri and thought I could buy a pistol there, and found out no, you can't. Since I have a Kansas license, I can only buy a pistol in Kansas. It's
Okay.
And then other states like can get crazy, like Chicago. You have to have like a FOID card.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what it is or anything, but I think you can get like fingerprinted or it's
It's
something
pretty
different.
much a background check of its own, and then is what I've heard at least. And then you get this card, you got to renew it almost like every year to renew it. And it's the same thing with ammo too. You got to use this card.
Yeah, you got to have this card to buy ammo. So if I shipped to Chicago, or not Chicago, Illinois, there's a different process you have to go through, and I just try and stay away from those states that aren't as gun friendly. Like California, I'll never ship to California. Like their laws are crazy, and in order for me to ship to California, I have to go through this system and get some sort of shipping number, basically like a tracking number, and then it's crazy. So
that state's crazy.
And you never know what guns are allowed there because it's always changing. And so I'm like, there's certain states I won't ship guns to, and it's like California and some of the states up east, like New York, New Jersey, I think Connecticut, those anti-gun states. I just stay away from those. But luckily, I don't get a lot of requests from those. Get more kind of the Midwest, which is nice to live in a pro-gun state so far.
More gun-friendly area.
Yeah, because in Kansas, you can actually... I have a concealed carry license, so I can conceal a gun on me and carry it around.
And in Kansas, you don't actually have to have a concealed carry, right? You can just carry with you, right?
Yep, you don't have to have a license. I like to have one just because if I go, say, over to Missouri, crossing state lines, I can do that with the concealed carry license because Missouri recognizes Kansas's concealed carry license. Whereas if you don't have a concealed carry license, you technically can't cross state lines and conceal carry in that state.
Well, I'm glad you sold me the biggest, bulkiest handgun right off the bat, because that thing is going to be really fun to try and conceal in the car as I'm driving around.
Yeah, and he was like, "What? I don't know what to get." I'm like, "Well, what do you want it for?" And he's like, "Really, he just wanted it for home defense." I'm like, "Okay, well, at that point, that eliminates a lot of the stuff, a lot of stuff, because you're not going to be concealing it. Home defense, you want a larger frame gun, better control over it and stuff like that, higher capacity." So,
and he forgot to warn me that it's essentially a bug, and the second you get one, all of a sudden you're going to want a bunch. He never gave me that little heads up.
Like
so
getting tattoos,
right,
in cars.
So I wanted to get the big home defense one. The second I bought it, I'm already thinking, okay, what's the next one I'm going to get? What's the next one I'm going to get? What's the next one I'm going to get?
I know that's what happened. Like after I got my first gun, then I'm like, whoa, I need something different. Like, because there's different calibers, and it's
concealed carry guns, and then
like you have this itch. Like I do a bunch of research, and I'm like, all right, this is gonna be my next gun, and I get that next gun, and I shoot it, and I'm like, okay, now I want something else.
Yeah,
like what's my next gun gonna be?
That's why I think the AR is a dangerous one to get addicted to, just because you can change the platform, everything, and it's all interchangeable. It's like building Legos.
Yeah, it's adult Legos, really, because I mean, most people can build them on their own. Like I learned how to build ARs off of YouTube. You really can't show how to build ARs on YouTube anymore. So, but once you do it a few times, it's easy. And then, I mean, the only thing you need to go through a gun dealer with is the lower receiver with the serial number. Anything else you can go out and buy, you can have shipped to your house and just build that gun to however you want to. And there's so many manufacturers and different parts. It's like it's hard to decide on which one you want to go with. So like you'll have a bunch of parts left over from a build, and you're like, well, crap, I have all this stuff left over.
Let's build another one.
Yeah, or it's like, I want to use this part too, so yeah, you build another one. So I build some occasionally through the business, and it's like I have all these leftover parts. I had a bunch of leftover parts. I'm like, I have enough here to build a rifle. Might as well just do it.
Well, and this is one of the other questions I was going to ask you. I didn't want to look like too big of an idiot, but when we're at the gun show and, all these people are asking me questions and stuff, I tried to BS my way through it. That was fine, whatever. But when it came down to when they were buying the lowers for the ARs, why is that the piece that you have to get the the background check done on and the serial number and stuff like that.
Because that's what's considered the firearm part, and that's the part that has the serial number.
Okay.
So any part of a gun that has the serial numbers considered the firearm. So like with handguns like Glocks, you can buy a different frame.
Mm-hmm.
So you could once you separate the slide and frame, it's not a pistol at that point. It's another firearm, and you can buy slides for it wherever. It's just since the serial number is on the frame, that's the part that you have to go through a dealer.
I got you.
Yeah, like the SIG. I think just the trigger assembly is a serialized number on the SIG, and that's why they're so modular, and you can change your caliber too. It just depends on the manufacturer and what their definition is, I guess.
Chris, what are all the guns that you have?
I got a shotgun. That was my first gun I bought, and then I bought 2 handguns. Bought a little 380 Ruger LCP. It was a more concealed carry gun, and then a little Taurus 9mm, another concealed carry. And then Keith did, an AR-15, and it was like a snowball effect. I built one, and I built another, and then I ended up buying a Ruger for the kids to eventually learn, a little 22, because I want them to learn gun safety and proper handling and not be terrified of it. And then I bought a couple of handguns in between, and then my AR-10's been my last build, so it's just, it depends on what you want.
Yeah, so our question to you is, when are you going to buy an AR? Or let us build you one?
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Oh, come on, man.
That's
that's America's
you
gun.
don't
that's I have to slide that one by the wife.
It's better to ask for permission or forgive. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, the best thing about the AR is you can buy just parts at a time, so she doesn't know, and then you just when you got all the parts, you put it all together. And like, look, she's like, well, how'd you pay for it? It's already been paid for.
The better question is, when are you two going to get your lawns in shape so they look halfway decent?
Mine looks decent.
Mine looks decent.
Yeah, whatever.
Mine's greater than anyone in my neighborhood.
Yeah, we'll move to our neighborhood and see if that still holds
So what are you trying to do with this mustache? Scare a bunch of kids or something?
Free cookies, free Wi-Fi.
So, just a little debriefing for you guys. For some reason, we've been drinking in the garage. We're like, how fun would it be if we went clean shaven on the first day of the NFL season, first Chiefs game? We'll go clean shaven and we'll let it grow as long as we possibly can. Well, Keith couldn't handle it, shaved it off way earlier than anybody else.
Well, my problem is I got sick and then we weren't trimming anything. And so being sick with a mustache sucks. And I'm like at that point. And then, anytime you took a drink of something or try to eat soup, it just gets all in your, I'm like, all right, I was over the mustache part.
And I got sick almost immediately after he told me, he's like, blowing your nose is it's miserable. I can't stand this. And then I was like, okay, whatever. And then I got sick like a week later, and I'm like, oh my God, this is brutal. But Mr. Thickbeard over here, he kept his the longest because we were kind of trying to see who can grow the thickest beard. Unfortunately, Keith came last.
Yep, couldn't do it.
Mine was all right, but Chris could grow a mean mustache or just a mean beard in general. But when I was ready to shave mine off, my wife did not want me to keep the mustache, so I was like, of course I'm going to keep it for a little bit. So I've had it for, I don't know, coming up on a week now. She's threatened to shave it in my sleep, so we'll see how that goes.
He may have had the thickest beard, but did you see how gray it was?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Just freaking Santa Claus over here.
Just for men over here was darkening it up, making his look way thicker than ours.
Yeah, it looked thick because he was dyed it black.
No, it was thick. It was really thick.
It was. It really was thick. But
yeah, the only reason I found out you guys shaved is because someone over here put up a YouTube video of an unboxing, and I was like,
he didn't tell me he shaved till 3 days after he did it.
I called him. He's like, oh yeah, I shaved Wednesday. I was like,
hey, it wasn't until he knew.
I told you guys I was going to shave.
It wasn't until he knew I was going to see him that day that he finally sent me a picture like, hey, I was like, he's trying to give himself a little bit of a buffer. I'm like,
yeah.
Punk.
That's when I called you. I was like, did you shave too?
Let me tell you, afterwards though, it felt good. You didn't have that freaking mustache.
Oh, man.
I mean, I didn't mind like the actual beard part. It's just the mustache that was killing me.
That first day I took my dog for a walk early in the morning when it was cold. I mean, it feels like you almost have frostbite on your face. It's so crazy how cold it is after you've had some growth for a while.
Yeah, I noticed that the first day I shaved and went outside. I was like, oh, I don't remember it being this cold.
Uh-huh.
And I got so much crap from my wife. She's like, she likes my beard to a certain length. Then, because I have really curly hair, so it starts to curl. And then once it starts to curl, she's like, no.
I think he's full of shit because I saw him grow his beard out for 3 months and I didn't see a hint of curl anywhere. So I think
that's what she says.
I think he was just ready to shave.
When we got engaged, that's the longest beard I had. I think it was like 4 months I didn't shave, and I proposed to her. So we had our engagement photos, like just a couple quick ones that we did ourselves, nothing professional. But she's like, I hate that you have that beard in our engagement photos.
So Chris, your wife didn't like the...
No, she hates it. She likes me clean shaven. And so...
Yeah, but you grow such a nice beard.
I know. I wish I could have kept it a little bit longer, but I kind of got tired of it too.
Something I want to talk about. I don't think obviously we won't get to it in this podcast, but at some point, you've rebuilt that BMW and you've got another one sitting in the garage that you're about to start working on again. I think that'd be a cool conversation for us to have, kind of you breaking down what you're doing and how you're going about that.
Yeah, it's just project cars.
I'm trying to get him to start his own YouTube channel.
I just don't know what to call it. That's my problem.
Yeah, no, we're just gonna all write off.
Just pick a name, and you can always change the name down the road.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, with mine, I initially, when I started getting into guns, I started doing my own stuff on YouTube. Like, I think I started 7 years ago, and my last video up until recently was like 4 years ago. But I just literally was bored in my apartment, so I do these videos on like how to take guns down, clean them, and stuff like that. The lighting was so terrible, and the camera obviously weren't as good as they were now. But just watching those, I'm like, God.
The funny thing is that I watched your bolt carrier group teardown on the Fail Zero, the AR-15, probably like 10 times. I think about the 9th or 10th time, I was like, KC Mod, I wonder if they're in Kansas City. And I was like, man, that workbench looks familiar. That looks like Keith's. And I started listening to the voice, like, that kind of does sound like Keith. So I called you up. I was like, do you got a YouTube channel? Yeah. I was like, Casey, yep, that's exactly what it was. I was like, oh my God, I've watched your video like 10 times.
It's kind of one of those things I didn't tell a lot of people just because I feel weird telling like people I know that I'm doing YouTube, because then it's like, oh, what if they think I'm stupid or look stupid or the video
you don't want to be judged over it or whatever.
Yeah, so I kept it. Actually, Micah I think was the only one that knew, and that was it. And I just did it on the side because I was bored. And recently I decided to kind of I changed the channel name to the Boomstick Tactical LLC channels to go with the business, and we invested in a lot of stuff. Because I was watching those videos. I mean, a lot of them. There's some of them that get a lot of views still, but they're like, the lighting's terrible, really. And so I'm like, well, that I have a business, I can kind of teach people stuff, because everybody, nowadays, if you want to know how to do something, you Google search and then usually watch something on YouTube.
Or you just go straight to YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. That's anything I'm doing around the house or whatever, or cars, YouTube is. So I'm like, I'm going to start doing that too, through the business, just kind of get, people educated about guns, as long as YouTube lets us talk about guns on there. But we thought we'd do the podcast too. And we're just kind of, I'm learning how to do the video stuff, because there's a lot that goes into. You got to
see how quick he's learned how to edit.
It is so hard.
We shot a video last night, and we were sitting down in the garage, and I mean, within 5 minutes, he had all the audio, video all lined up. Just like, I mean, he's getting so quick at it. It's very impressive.
Yeah, it's definitely a learning curve. I mean, I've been watching stuff on YouTube on video editing, but it's tough, especially once you get in like B-roll, when your audio is separate from your, like with the podcast, we do video stuff for YouTube, but then audio only for that will launch on like Spotify and stuff like that. But you have to kind of match those up for YouTube, and so you have to line the audio up. But since we're doing the audio through the Rodecaster and the video through an iPhone, they don't sync up very well. So like the audio ends up being slower than the video. So then you gotta change the speed, and it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
But once you figure it out, it's easy. So I'm just trying to figure out all that stuff as he's over there playing with a knife.
Yep.
First off,
Well,
not a knife.
you're gonna cut that mustache off with a knife?
It's a bayonet, which
You could.
I might bring this up in every single podcast video we do. Let's get Keith started on the difference between a clip and a magazine, because I got corrected so hard the first time I did it, and now ever since then, because movies and stuff, people always are calling them clips. Well, they're not, and Keith will let you know about it really quick.
No, it's just if you know anything about guns and the proper terminology, you will know that people that don't know what they're talking about always call magazines clips. I don't know if it's because it sounds cool or what, but
I think it might have came from the Matrix.
I don't know. But there's a major difference between what an actual clip is and a magazine. So it drives me nuts. So if you have an actual magazine, don't ever call it a clip. The media, people in the media call it clips. I'm like, oh my God, at least know what you're talking about.
That's
before.
the media. I mean,
I can't remember if Neo says it when I can't remember if he says, do you have any extra clips, or, oh, my clip is out, or something like that. But then every young kid who likes an action movie, or at least my generation from then on, just associated a magazine with a clip. And I think that's where...
something funny. I've never seen The Matrix.
How?
Like any
What?
of them. How? It looked weird. I don't know.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it
gosh.
is weird, but it's one giant action movie. Who doesn't fucking love that?
I don't know.
Have you seen any of the John Wicks?
Oh, I've seen all the John
Okay.
Wicks. Yeah.
So essentially, it was I'm not going to say it's a predecessor or a prequel, but it was what they did in The Matrix allowed action movies to be what they are today.
Yeah,
So,
really, they did.
Hmm.
All the cinematics and then slowing and the movements and stuff like that really changed movies.
The fighting scenes where
Yeah.
it's just the whole nine. Just they changed it. But
The new one's out. You gonna see it?
I know. Yeah, we got HBO Max. I'm just going to watch it on HBO Max.
Thank God for these streaming platforms now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, who wants to go to an actual movie theater now? Now, like, my wife and I love movie theater popcorn, so we'll go to the movie theater, buy popcorn, and bring it home and watch a movie.
That makes me so mad.
It's
I want
so
to
good.
I want to time it sometime when they're getting out with the movie theater popcorn and just fucking slap that shit out of there. Why wouldn't you just pop popcorn at hand
Because
at
there's
home
something
and
about
then,
movie theater popcorn. It's just
well, then go
better.
to the movie and get movie theater popcorn.
Or
then.
buy the popcorn machine and the same
we
kernels.
do that, and then we melt our own butter, mix it over. But maybe it's the butter that you get at the movie theaters that makes it just better. And plus, they put a lot of salt in there. I don't know.
Keith, your haircut's looking tight.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I'm just looking at it through the video over here.
Yeah, so we have, obviously you guys can't see it. I have a TV over here that I'm mirroring the iPhone camera on, so that way we can make sure we're in frame. So that's why if you see us looking over this way, we're looking at the TV. So we're looking at ourselves in the TV. And that's the cool thing about new TVs now is you can do that. Like I could mirror it with my Mac and phone and stuff. So it's kind of cool.
Technology.
I know.
It's growing very fast.
I know. It's because when I started the business, I bought a Windows laptop computer, right? Top of the line, or supposedly. It crapped out this year. I'm like, God, I've only had this for maybe 3.5, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, did a bunch of research. And I'm like, I'm getting a Mac.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'd switched to Mac. When I was comparing, I went to Best Buy and I was talking to them, and they're like, I'm a diehard Windows person. Like, what's the best laptop that's going to last me forever? A Mac. Okay. So why aren't you a Mac person then?
right?
They're like, I don't know.
Well, it's like everything I own is Apple. Like
Yeah.
I've always once the smartphones came out, always owned an Apple.
Yep.
And then I had an iPad. So it's nice having the Mac because everything synchronizes and stuff. So it's nice.
It's very user friendly.
Yep.
That's why I like it too.
It's like the old man getting tired over there or something.
No, I'm all good.
He doesn't want to go home because he's already in trouble for doing the podcast tonight. We were doing the video shoot for the artwork for the podcast, and he told his wife that's all he was doing and was going to be right home. And then
he came over to the podcast.
Yeah, so
But
so he's not looking forward to going home after this.
What's fun about having a wife is they're mad about everything all the time. So yeah, we'll always have that to look forward to.
He's young; he'll figure it out.
Yeah, eventually.
Happy wife, happy life, man.
Yep.
One thing I did want to say before we got off, before we close off here is definitely go check out the Boomstick Tactical LLC YouTube page. He's constantly dropping teardown videos, cleaning videos, you name it, product review, whatever. It's all high quality. It all looks really well.
The new stuff. I still have all my older videos on there.
So look for everything with the date of 2021.
No.
Yeah.
The old stuff's gonna get redone. Everything's getting redone, but
It is.
if you guys would check that out, and if you like it, please hit the like button and
subscribe.
And please subscribe, because if you guys subscribe, all that does is allow us to then reinvest and keep making content for you guys. So
yeah, for sure. And with YouTube, it's their analytics and monetization. It's really strict. So you used to be able to monetize everything, but they're getting really strict on, especially with gun stuff. So I got to be really careful on what I do. So that way,
how he labels it, how he labels it in the video.
And you have to put a disclaimer in there now that, hey, this is for educational purposes only. I'm not necessarily teaching you how to do this. It's just, you got to be real careful. But it's nice because people, especially with the pandemic, there's so many new gun owners.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you want people to be able to do stuff right. If you trying to clean a gun and trying to read the manual on how to clean the gun, it's like putting something together from IKEA.
Yeah.
So it's nice to actually be able to watch somebody do that on YouTube, because some guns, you can only get so many pictures in the manual. And like his father-in-law had a
M2.
Let me borrow a bit Benelli M2 tactical shotgun recently, and I found maybe one video on how to take that specific model down, and the guy wasn't talking; he just had music. I'm like, oh, okay.
And another thing that you'll see in the video, but they gave a spring for the magazine tube that was, I swear to God, it was at least the length of the gun, if not a little bit further, and that clearly didn't fit in. So Keith showed how to cut it down and actually make it fit to your specific requirements. Just I
actually did not put that in the video.
You didn't put that in the video?
Well,
okay.
Bryant had already cut it, and so I'm like, why didn't I get that on video? And then I'm like, I'm just going to show how to tear it down, because maybe
I thought he was going to put it in the video, but just little things like that.
Yeah,
they'll be in the videos, as we go through, and any little support helps from you guys. And we also have made a couple off the cuff videos. Keith happens to have one of the most organized garages you'll ever see. He's got OCD like you've never seen. So his garage is meticulously put together. And so if you do watch those videos and you like that, please like and even comment to see if you want, to let us know that you like that specific content and that you'd specifically like to see more content like that,
or whatever content you want, because I'm going to keep it mostly guns, but then kind of do some other stuff too, just because kind of branch out a little bit. I know with YouTube you want to stay within your niche and stuff like that, and you really don't want to break out, but it's not like I'm doing this full time, so I'm not one of those people that relies on money from YouTube or anything like that. So I'm going to throw in like other videos, like garage tour videos. I'm going to show like my gun cleaning station, how it's set up for, if I do clean a gun, and obviously do the gun cleaning videos, and then we might
throw some lawn videos in there,
right.
Maybe some basic upkeep,
disc golf.
If you like disc golf, I'll show you guys how to rip a disc. I mean, we can do that as well. But
kind of show the YouTube studio setup and like how because I'm still learning. Like this last month, I've been doing a lot of research on the equipment that we have, and I'm still trying to, learn how to actually use it properly, set everything up right. So big learning curve. So you'll see the videos should hopefully get better and better with time. It's just a big learning curve, but yeah, anything that's 2021 or newer is going to be stuff that's better. Anything that's 4 to 7 years old, the lighting's going to be terrible and stuff like that. But I'm going to redo a lot of those ones that are especially popular, and just with better equipment, better lighting and equipment and stuff like that. So,
but we want to bring you guys on the journey with us, and so we hope you follow along and like and subscribe, and we hope to see you on the next one.
Yeah, those of you that are listening to us on another platform other than YouTube, subscribe to, I think, do you subscribe to the podcast? I don't know.
I think you can.
You just follow. I think you just follow.
Okay, so follow us or whatever, and we'll try and put out as many episodes as we can. We're just kind of getting started, but like I said, most of our topics are going to have something to do with guns, but we'll kind of branch off into other stuff. So,
and if not, you're going to get to see all of our antics on the YouTube channel as well. So however you guys want to help us out, we appreciate it.
Yep. So this is just the first episode. We thought we'd kind of introduce ourselves and stuff like that and kind of talk about whatever we talk about around there. So we do appreciate you guys tuning in, and please follow us so you can see the other episodes as they come out.
See you guys later.
Have a good one.
Thanks for watching.